Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield. Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley, with convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut. Visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
And Grace's teddy bear, because today is National Bring Your Teddy Bear to Work School Day.
Usually I make you bigger and center you up on the desk, but I noticed you had an early guest.
I do. I have an early guest, which is going to be here for a little while. So it is National Bring Your Teddy Bear to Work School Day. So I asked Grace if I could borrow her teddy bear, which has been part of her, part of the decor in her bedroom for many, many years. So the little history behind this particular teddy bear is that Grace got this teddy bear for her christening from her godparents, her Uncle Bobby and Aunt Janet, Gary's brother and sister-in-law. And she's wearing a T-shirt that my mother, the T-shirt says, granddaughter number 4, and it's got a Raggedy Ann and Andy embroidered in there. My mother did a lot of needlepoint. And when she was alive, and she made each of the girls. She has 4 granddaughters. She made each of them T-shirts and sweatshirts, and they were all individualized.
Gotcha.
And they had either their names on them. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff with Grace on it, for my mother. And you're kind of like, oh, what do we do with this? Other than it's folded up in a box somewhere. So
Right.
we took out this particular one. She had a couple of T-shirts, but this one fit Teddy Bear over here. And then Grace said, "Mom, you have to make sure that she usually has sunglasses on too, but the sunglasses I left those at home. But Grace said you have to put my my Sam Adams hat on the teddy bear because this is an Oktoberfest hat." That Grace got when she was, in her younger days when she was doing the bar thing a little bit more than she is now. She doesn't have the time or the money to do that right now. So
Right, no, I gotcha.
We've kind of stopped that altogether. But so Teddy's wearing it's actually a female Teddy because she's got a pink bow, but she is wearing her Oktoberfest hat. So National Bring Your Teddy Bear to Work and School Day is observed annually on the second Wednesday in October. This is a day to spend with your cuddly friend. A teddy bear will brighten up your day and bring a feeling of celebration to your office or classroom just by being there. Teddy bears have long been known to provide comfort to children, but they can do just as much for adults. So how to observe? Well, dress up your teddy bear and display him or her at work or school. So that is exactly what we have done over here. So we've got Teddy with us. I should mention to our viewers and listeners that our guest this morning will be an early guest. Dr. Akenyele Lovelace, our WCPC resident primary care physician, will be with us this morning. I'm very excited, and I've pulled a topic. I went back in my records, Pete, in the archives, in the WSK,
The vast archive.
Yes, the WSKB archives, which have, are becoming vaster and vaster, if that's a word, as we continue to do the program. But I believe that the very first time that Dr. Lovelace was on the show was back in 2016, and our very first topic, which I thought was just a fabulous topic, is one that we're going to talk about today, and that is medications. And we're going to talk about medication management, medication compliance. Why don't people necessarily comply with taking their medications? How can that be detrimental, and how can we change that? So we're going to really delve into that topic, which, here we are, whatever it is, 8 years later, talking about the same thing.
Still viable topic.
It is still a viable topic. I also want to mention that today, October 12th, is National Emergency Nurses Day. National Emergency Nurses Day is observed annually on the second Wednesday in October, and we take this day to say thank you to the emergency room nurses for their hard work, dedication, service, and commitment to their patients and families, as well as their loyalty to the emergency nursing profession. And we certainly have seen that throughout this pandemic. Emergency room nurses are the first people we see when we have an accident or a medical emergency. They put us at ease and work to eliminate pain and discomfort. This is a day to let them know just how important they are in keeping hospitals running smoothly. Sponsored by the Emergency Nurses Association since 1989, this day is part of Emergency Nurses Week. So again, thank you to our emergency room nurses, our ED, our emergency department nurses. They're vital. They do see us oftentimes when we are at our most vulnerable, and that takes a special person, because it's not just the medical care, but it's also just the bedside manner. Let's face it, that's important to all of us. We all want to feel at
I consider
ease.
them part of the first responder corps.
I agree with you, P. I totally agree with that assessment. So we have those two things kind of out of the way, because I'm doing everything a little bit backwards today with Dr. Lovelace coming during the first hour. Usually my guests are during the second hour, and Pete and I can just kind of ease into this. But I would like to take just the next few minutes before we take our first break and before Dr. Lovelace arrives to just thank Pete and Bob Plass for yesterday's Wow, It's Tuesday show. I thought that was Dr. Kevin Coughlin was on. And I had been in conversation with Bob last week. He had called me about Pumpkin Fest. And so we had that discussion. And I said to him, Bob, I said, if my memory serves me correctly, usually Dr. Coughlin is on the second Tuesday of the month. And Bob said yes. And I said, is he scheduled to be on next week, meaning yesterday? And Bob said yes. And I said, I would love for him to discuss that ballot question about dentistry, of which I know really nothing about. But we were just starting to see some commercials. The commercials are starting to be aired on TV, and so I said to Bob, I said, what a great topic for him to just explain what exactly is the question. So if I vote yes, if I vote no. But it turned out, and so thank you to
the business of dentistry too.
Well, it just really got into this whole sort of philosophical point of view in terms of how we pay for healthcare in this country, and there's one comment that I would like to make that Dr. Coughlin pointed out, and I absolutely agree with him on this. He talked about the fact that a vote for yes in terms of regulating, the dentistry by the insurance and so forth, in the long run will probably, in the short term, will probably lessen costs for people. But in the long term, he saw some real significant consequences. I agree with that because we saw that happen with Medicare years ago.
Well, the healthcare companies are going to try to keep their profits up.
Correct.
How do they do that?
There's only one way to do that. If you're going to lower costs, it's not going to be on the patient side. It's going to be on the physician side.
Well, or you there's ways to do it. You cut overhead, which means people.
Yeah. Right.
And some of these insurance companies are massive, and I think they could be a lot leaner. But
yes.
That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the costs always get passed along somewhere.
Yes.
And they know they can't raise rates because that won't be tolerated.
Correct.
So what do? They squeeze it out of the healthcare, but in the end, government doesn't do well with regulation. Let's just say that.
Well, here's the point that I wanted to make was that what happens is that they'll exactly what Kevin was saying. So if they say, all right, for filling a cavity, we're going to reimburse, the insurance company's going to reimburse the doctor $60, and then we pass this legislation and we have to cut costs somewhere. So what they say is, well, okay, we're only going to reimburse you $50 for that procedure. And so, which sounds great to the patient because it's like, hey, the docs are making plenty of money, the insurance company's making plenty of money. But here's the kicker. When you do that enough, you run into what happened with Medicare. And Gary and I were talking about it last night as a follow-up, because Gary also was listening yesterday to the show, is that doctors do not have to participate in insurance plans. Yeah. There were doctors that were participating in Medicare, and I remember one interviewed on National Public Radio years ago, and she said she had to get out of Medicare. She felt horrible doing it. She was a rural doc working, and she said, I have a large older population. The problem was not only was she not making money, she was losing money every time one of them walked in the door. And she said, how are you in private practice? How can you keep your doors open when you're actually paying to have patients come and see you? There's no way you can pay your overhead, your staff, and so forth. And so she opted out. And I think that's what people don't understand, or not that they don't understand, but they don't realize that. Doctors don't have to participate in Medicare. They don't have to participate in dental plans. They don't. So if you make it so difficult for them financially that they can't participate, they're just going to opt out of the program.
Two things that Kevin said over the years and said it consistently. He said, I employ as many or more people on the healthcare coding side than I do in patient care.
Yes, that's true.
And he said the cost of buying equipment to keep on top of dental care is not going down, it's going up. So every time I buy a piece of equipment and then they cut my costs, I don't know what to do.
Right.
Like, do I just let the stuff go out of date? And that's what a lot of practices are doing. They're just saying, hey, good enough.
Yeah, well.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't upgrade their stuff.
And then ultimately what you have happen is what we have happening in the medical profession, which you just don't have people going into the profession.
Right. There's that.
We had a physician, he's passed away a few years ago, but in the family, on Gary's side of the family. His son he is an only child, very bright, and Ed said, I absolutely said to my son, do not get into medicine. Just, I mean, as noble
There's a
a
lot of
profession as
careers.
it is, but it's just like, it is so, because you end up in so much debt by the time you get out of medical school. And it's the same thing with chiropractic school, any of those.
There's a lot of careers you can say that about now.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I told my son still wants to be a police officer. I'm
Scary.
like, no. Now is not a good time societal-wise to be that.
Yeah.
And it's that with a lot of those professional jobs, doctors, physician's assistants,
Yeah.
EMTs, paramedics.
Yeah.
It's hard getting people to walk in the door.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. So anyway, I thank, and I also had texted you yesterday about thank you and Bob and Rick for really letting Kevin just take the lead on that, that interview.
Poor Rick. Rick was like, why was I here? He was frustrated because he was going to ask some questions. And
yeah, and I think it's hard because you don't know how that kind of thing is going to go.
Right.
I mean, it could have been like, okay, well, we're done talking about this in 5 minutes. But you just kind of never know. But it really took on a life of its own. I thought Dr. Coughlin did a fabulous job of really explaining what the proposed ballot question is, which was my initial question, like what is it, and if I vote yes, what will that mean? If I vote no, what will that mean? So it's a great segment, and I stand by what I said yesterday, Pete, which is that I think it should be replayed as a
I had it as a
standalone.
standalone. I'm going to upload that today.
Yeah, so I thought it was.
I'll put it in the
job.
senior center folder.
Yeah, so thank you to everyone who participated in that. It was fabulous.
And your guest is here.
My guest is waiting in the wings, so we have to bring him in with his own theme song, of course, which is "The Doctor" by the Doobie Brothers. When we come back, we'll have Dr. Akenyele Lovelace with us. We're going to talk about medications. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield Masses, and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We'll be back.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield. This is his entrance music. He sent this to me. My request.
He's got the potion and the motion.
Oh, I love it.
When I feel in love, when my love starts to flow. He's got the power every hour. He's the reason why
Okay.
my face is all aglow.
Ooh, very smooth. Very smooth. What an intro.
Was right on time.
Oh, my God. And you have the voice for it.
Yeah, it was, and
Oh, my God.
And
What do you need me for?
listen, you are viable and much of a value to me in this scenario. But the funny thing, that song, I told Pete I'd heard that song the other day, hadn't heard it in a long time, and it had initially it scarred me for a moment. Because I was in my young med school years, it scarred me.
Okay.
Doing an
We understand.
OBGYN rotation.
Okay.
And one of the volunteers was singing that song while I was doing the evaluation, and everyone in the room got a good laugh out of that.
Name of the song is Dr. Love.
Yes.
Oh, you gotta love it. You just have to. Who sings it?
A band called First Choice.
That's right.
Girl group.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I love it.
So-
No, when did that come out, Pete?
Oh, gotta be
my
like
God.
early 70s.
Early
That's what I was
70s.
gonna say.
Classic.
It
Yeah,
sounded
classic
like a
disco.
70s.
Oh,
it's
classic
it's
disco.
1977?
Very
Yeah.
disco.
Yes,
Very
yes,
disco.
yes,
Had to
yes.
be 70s.
Yeah. So I think it was this nice little something to get our bodies moving in the morning.
Absolutely. But I like the kind
Nice
of
little groove.
smoothness of it.
And so
I love it.
I had messaged Pete about it. I was like, Pete, I think I need to hear this one good time. And Pete was like, you want the extended version or the short version? I was like, ooh, I'm not quite sure just yet, but the short's good. I mean, if we're going to have a whole dance party or if we're going to be at the
Wow.
Noble Ball coming up pretty soon.
Gary and I are actually guests of Ron Bryan.
Oh,
this year.
good. We'll be with
So,
him at the
yeah.
table as well.
Oh,
We're going to be
get
together.
out. Oh, my God. I'm
Absolutely.
so glad.
It'll be
Gary,
a fun time.
as I said to Gary, I said, we got this invitation from Ron Bryan. I said, this one is hard to turn down. And Gary's, and I said to him, he was kind of like, we haven't done anything. Well, we were at the mayor's inaugural ball but that was a little, kind of quieter here in Westfield. And Gary's like, oh, I don't know if we're ready to step out. And I said to him, well, I'm sure Akenyele and Christina will be there. I don't know if Britt Percy will be there. Gary's known Britt for forever. And so he's like, oh, yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, let's go.
So we're going.
Good, awesome.
So I emailed Ron and I said, all right, we're going. We're
Yeah.
there, we're in.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to
Good
be
fun.
great. That should be fun.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Lovelace, we are back. And so it's been a couple months. First of all, I really do have to comment. You look fabulous.
Oh, I thank you, dear.
You really do. I mean,
Hey,
that is like so perfect fall New England. We've got the, just the right colors going on. And
Yeah, there's something about this season that just kind of rings true to me. I guess fall is my season.
Yeah, there it is.
Football,
yeah. Oh, my gosh. I love
postseason
it.
baseball.
Yeah, there it is.
You're gonna
All
get a
that
little bit.
stuff.
Yeah, like for me, it's everything.
But I really have to comment. So we've got the jacket with the patches.
I'm all about the elbow patches.
Gotta
the
have
elbow
the elbow
patches,
patch.
and
That's
I
a
have to
classic
tell you,
elbow patch,
it is.
man.
It reminds me of when I was a kid. It reminds me of like my first Ken doll came with a corduroy jacket, a brown corduroy jacket with the patches, and I thought I was like the coolest kid in the first grade, mind you, because I had this Ken doll with the jacket with the patches, and I had never seen that because my dad worked for the government, and it was they were much more stuffy. They weren't wearing patches on the arms, but so I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Oh my.
All right.
I don't often play sound drops on Tina's show, but geez.
But that
There it
happened.
is.
That
There
happened.
it is. It did happen. So anyway, looking very dapper.
Oh,
So
thank you.
let's catch up briefly before we delve into our topic here. Everyone good with the family?
Everyone's doing well.
Everyone's,
Everyone's doing great.
back
healthy,
in
taking care of
school.
themselves. Yeah, back in school.
Good.
School's in good session.
Yeah.
Kids are having a good time.
Yes.
Getting up early again, which is great. Getting homework done. Getting tests taken care of. It's like it's good getting back into the rhythm. After school programs are
Good.
afoot here.
So what grades are we in
So
now?
we're
Because I feel
talking-
like we've grown.
we're
These
talking-
kids. Where are we here?
Well, if you're talking about me personally, I don't think I ever finished, but yeah. So we're talking 4th grade and 6th grade right now, which is
Okay.
awesome.
Okay.
So
And we have an
those are
older one
fun
too,
times.
right?
We did.
Okay.
He has since relocated back.
Okay.
With his
okay,
family, which is
okay.
awesome.
Good.
He's now in, I believe he's 8th grade, 9th grade.
Yeah, because I was going to say he's getting up there.
Anthony has the opportunity now. Initially he was at Valley Forge, and now he is back in New Jersey with his
Okay.
mom, which I'm so excited about.
That's great.
And it was so great because that's something that he had wanted so badly.
Yeah.
Good.
Good.
And I think that's going to help him in his growth going forward.
Great.
So I look
Well,
forward
I'm happy
to that.
to hear that.
Oh,
That's
yes,
great.
absolutely.
And so the girls are now, what were we saying?
4th and 6th grade.
4th and 6th
It's
grade.
happening.
Like
Yeah.
I can remember when they
I
were,
can too.
preschool. I can
can
remember when
too.
they started
Yeah.
kindergarten.
It is. It's amazing. You look up and your hair is still gone, but the hair on your face is getting grayer, right?
That's
and
it.
but it's a good feeling.
And they're getting taller.
Oh man, are they ever
Yeah.
getting taller? They're both at 5 feet and change now. So
Yeah. Wow.
before you know it, I'm going to be looking up at them.
Yeah.
Or looking directly in their face, and I just kind of can look back at our family portraits, and they were all on my shoulders, at one point, and so it's just amazing,
So
right?
6th grade. So how's that going? Are we getting into the girly stuff that can get complicated?
I think we're on our way, right?
Yeah,
we're on
we're
our way.
there.
We're on our way, and I think that's a good thing, right? I think it's growth.
Yeah.
I think it's growth, and I
Yeah.
think what's also amazing is just that being in a school system where that can be something where you can grow and develop and it can be nurtured in a healthy way, I think
Yep.
is also extremely
Perfect.
important. And
Yep.
so I'm all in.
Okay.
I got my partner with me, and she's manning the fort on that side.
And how's she doing?
She's doing great, man. Knocking it
How's
out
the wedding
park.
planning business coming?
Man, the wedding it is.
Is it
Tina,
off the charts?
Tina, I look forward to the day where I will just be the photographer.
Ah.
I will do this doctor thing just for free. I tell people that all the time because I personally will do this for free, and I will be the dedicated assistant to Lovelace Design and events because I think there is a want, there is a need in this area
Oh yeah.
for people to want to get together again and
Yeah.
to celebrate those milestones. I think that's really important. And I think during the shutdown and the pandemic, I think we have come to really appreciate these moments a little bit more,
Yep.
and are willing to want to spend the time. You look at weddings, right? Weddings are an opportunity where you're getting family members together from all over, and some of them you never see again.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
those events, and so you want to really capture those moments, whether it's visual or oral, like oracle.
Yeah.
So I think it has some value. So for me, this could be the second part of my career where I just become the standalone photographer, and I'm excited about that opportunity.
That is really fun. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, and kind of the, sort of the whole mental health, well-being of people,
Yeah.
coming back together. And how often have we said, well, the time that the whole family's together, it's weddings and funerals.
Yeah.
So, given that, well, the wedding part of it is really the fun, celebratory, have music, take pictures.
Yeah.
So I think people are really all in for that right now.
Yeah, and then what about the other milestones that occur in
Yeah.
your life, right?
Yeah.
Baby showers,
Sure.
right? Like there's so many other little
Graduations.
graduations. There are just so many times, and I think for a lot of people, They want to celebrate and want to be together, but sometimes they just don't have the idea or the vision or the thought as to what the event could look like or what the space could really become.
Yep.
And, you know, when you have someone that can create a space or turn a simple room into a magical kingdom, right? Out of just the thought in their head, I think that's a real skill, and people enjoy that because it's the moments now, right? It's the moments that we take, and then you take your selfie, you take your picture, and that's something that you never forget. And I think if we can continue to create that, it creates a better sense of community just as much, right?
Yeah,
within
for
your
sure.
small family and then the larger family. And so I'm all in. And
So
I
you're all
think it's
in.
great. Oh, absolutely.
That's great. Well, I know every time we have a Zoom meeting. Christina's on our friends board, and every time we're Zooming, you know, the last several times she's got, you know, wedding stuff all around her, and
You should see my house.
Yeah, I can just imagine. She's like, okay, we're doing favors or we're doing this or that, and I'm going, holy smokes, where are you guys eating dinner? Is this like the kitchen table, just, you know, covered with? So yeah,
We're very fortunate. We have enough space.
Yeah.
But the downside to that is that we have plenty of space.
That is the
We tend
problem.
to accumulate a lot of things, you know, over the years we just have been in so many different events and she's done so many things, and you sometimes pick up a lot of things along the way. So
Of course you do.
At any moment we could just at a drop of a dime have, you know, 50 tables and chairs and a couple bounce houses and,
There it is.
And a full bar, and we've got a party.
Yeah, there you go.
So
There
it is.
it is.
And then my father-in-law, he's a DJ, and so he continues to drop off. He sometimes leaves equipment,
Okay.
you know, sparingly. So we could even have a full DJ at the event.
So
at
everybody
a
over
drop
at
of
the
a dime.
Lovelace house.
Yeah, it can be a thing.
It can be a thing.
In a
be a
pinch,
thing.
you can always call your friend Pete, and he can let you borrow some gear.
You know
There
what?
it is.
Listen,
There it is.
In a pinch, yeah.
Oh, yes, indeed, and that will happen.
All right, let's take a little break. We're going to listen to Kool and the Gang singing Emergency in honor of National Emergency Nurses Day.
Wow.
It is 6:29. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My guest this morning is Dr. Akenyele Lovelace, and when we come back, we're going to talk about medications and all things medication. We'll be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with Dr. Akenyele Lovelace, primary care physician with family medicine here in Westfield. If you're not sure where that is, it's the pretty pink building on Route 20. It's been pretty and pink forever. It's the Floridian building here in Westfield, which always cracks me up when I drive by there in January and there's snow on it. It looks like it should be out of Miami.
It should. And for those who don't know, the signage does say Pioneer Valley Medical Center because sometimes that gets confusing. Because they're like, hey man, I don't even see the sign, and it's well, it's actually it's the Pioneer Valley Medical Center building. So if you're ever passing by.
Yeah, so you're not going to see Family Medicine Associates on the
sign. Yeah, you never see it on the side.
Well, just look for the pink building.
Look for the pink and green building.
This is one of the things. It's like if you live in Westfield,
yes,
you just
right.
you say no more.
That is one of those.
You don't even have to give directions. You don't even have to give the street. You just have to say, "What's the medical building that's pink?" Oh yeah, that's the one over by Walmart.
Yeah, I drive by it all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, people, and that's what most people say, and I enjoy that. Well, it's. I feel like it's almost becoming a landmark for a lot of different scenarios, right?
It is a landmark. It's going to be on the historical landmark list. Like you're not allowed to alter it at all. Like you can't. If you repaint it, it's got to be the same color pink. It's one of those. Oh. All right, Dr. Lovelace, we are going to talk about medications today. And I was telling Pete when I dove through the archives of my WSKB archives, because I've now been doing this show for like 9 years, I think. I went back to one of the first times you were on the show, and we talked about medications.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and I said, and as Pete said, we're still talking about it, but it's timeless. It's just one of those things that we need to address it. So I want to talk about, and I'm going to let you kind of carry this however you want to, but I'd like to talk a little bit about medication management, medication compliance. If people are not compliant with taking their medications, as a physician, why do you think that's happening? So let's kind of, get into that. And why is it important to be compliant? So where would you like to start?
So I think when it comes to why people are not compliant, a lot of the challenges I face or they deal with understanding the reasons why we have to take the medicine. Like, what's the real reason? Like, and I'm not assured, or I don't really trust that what the provider's actually telling me is correct.
Okay.
Or I feel like every time I go see the provider, they just want to push more meds at me. Okay. Right? Like it's kind of a common running theme that I get. And a lot of times it has to do with education and understanding why. So why, Dr. Lovelace, do I have to take 10 medicines? Mm-hmm. I say, well, you know what? I really don't think you need to take 10 medicines. Let's really just sit down and really take a look at what's going on. Mm-hmm. Because what happens a lot of times for a lot of older adults, if you have more than one or two chronic conditions, and maybe you have more than just one or two providers that you see, at any given moment, any one of those providers could be recommending 2 to 3 medications for you. So all of a sudden now, you've seen 3 providers. They've all recommended at least 2 medications. And wait a minute. All of a sudden, I've got
now I'm taking 6 meds.
I might as well have Skittles for breakfast, right? Because that's what it starts to look like.
Yeah.
And so the understanding for the reason as to why, and even the duration, I think matters.
Yeah.
And what happens is God forbid you get hospitalized and then you get discharged, and then all of a sudden you get this huge laundry list of medications. And sometimes they do not get what we call reconciled, where we don't have the primary provider really just take a look at them and see what's going on. They just kind of are out there, and they have all these pills and these prescriptions, and no one really looks at them thoroughly to kind of helping them determine what's the real reason for them and how long do I have to take them, right? The other issue a lot of times for a lot of adults is cost. Some of these medications at certain times just cost way too much. And I'm not going to spend, $300 on a diabetic medication for a month. Like that is absurd. And you know what? I agree, right? I don't see that. And so they just stop taking it until either their insurances or their prescription plan can cover it, or they have the money to afford it. So those are some really key factors that I see when it comes to compliance. The problems with compliance is that for certain medicines, I'm not going to say that they're vital, but they're extremely important to maintaining or trying to control a disease process. When I was thinking about this last night, I was like, there's in my mind, there's very few illnesses or diseases where I'm absolutely definitive about taking the medicine.
Okay.
And some of them have to do with heart disease. Some of them have to do with diabetes. Some of them have to do with cancer diagnoses, right? Some of them are really vital because they have shown real benefit to reducing someone's outcome from dying or having an unwanted circumstance due to their disease process. And so I'm very adamant about those. But even in that conversation, the patient has to just be educated a little bit more so that they can make the conscious decision about what they're doing. And I think that will help with compliance. Also, having the conversation about cost. I understand that you saw this shiny thing on television, but you do understand that it's on television right now. And so that is one thing that we have to kind of discuss. I think having access to the internet and looking it up, I encourage it, right? But my biggest concern with the internet, as if it's a thing, is that it didn't make us any smarter, right? Like, we got access to the internet, we got access to all this information, and we didn't get any smarter. But for some of us, it made us a little bit more
paranoid.
Yes, thank you, Pete. about it, but then we wouldn't want to engage with the provider about what they read,
what
right?
our concerns are.
So I get that sometimes. So I'll have a patient that'll say to me, "Well, I stopped taking my great one would be I stopped taking my Plavix." Well, why'd you stop taking Plavix? Well, I read on the internet. I said, "Oh, well, what part of the internet were you on?"
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
Or
well, what's the source?
What's the source? What's the website? Oh, I don't remember. I just looked it up, and I said, "Well, next time, I'd love for you to kind of bring the source so we can have that conversation." Because a lot of times I'll have a patient say to me, "Well, you probably didn't want me to Google it." And I'm like, no, don't say those things. Me and Google are good friends. Like, go ahead. Like let's have that conversation, because I think that will help kind of move the needle when it comes to understanding the medications and the reason for the medications. So for me, in my experience, a lot of times the two main reasons why patients do not take their medications is usually because A, they don't understand the reason why they have to take it, and B, because of the cost.
Okay. Now, in my experience, and I was curious about it from a physician, so I'm gonna approach this as a social worker case management. My experience is that the more medications that, especially if someone has been hospitalized, the more medications they go home with, the less compliant they are for my population. And some of that just has to do with confusion. It's just like, Tina, I can't I remember when a close relative, and I was helping her do medication management, she was sent home with 9 medications. And I would go there weekly with my, with my 28-day, medication thing with, 7 days, 4 times a day. And it would take me about an hour to, okay, wait a minute, we got this one and we got this one. After a while, they're all looking the same, and you're checking the, to make sure I've got this completely set up fine. That was me for an hour, completely focused, not somebody who just had a stroke who's trying to do this. And, it was like, oh my gosh, if we could just get this down to maybe 4 medications, that would help. So I think that's part of it. And then, of course, if you add any kind of level of, dementia, cognitive issues, or even something as simple as like arthritis or something like that, it's like, it just throws it all off. And I always felt like, well, if we could reduce the number, that I think it helps people for one thing to kind of just be able to process all this.
Right. And so that's why when I go into this, I tend to want to give a timeline. Like,
yeah.
oh, how long do you absolutely have to be on this medication?
Yeah.
Some medications are indefinite for a variety of different reasons, and others are they're for the season. You know, do we need to be on this? And so a lot of times with those hospital medicines where you get that 9 or 10 list, a lot of times there is some confusion, and it's so important sometimes that if you have the opportunity to have someone kind of look over them with you, who has some type of medical background, and then to really determine how long I need to take them. And then you can slowly start to skim them away. And so a lot of times I'll have people come in and I'll say, all right, listen, you got to be on these 3 ones, because we got to.
Like forever, maybe.
But these other 4, really? Like these other 4, all right, so how bad is your heartburn? Right? Do you really need to take the heartburn medication? Let's talk about your antidepressant medication. How are you doing? All right. This is not a lifelong thing. So let's talk about where we're at here and where you're at in your mental space. How is your pain? Do you need to take all this pain medication, or can we start to cut back? What about your anxiety levels? Let's talk about your anxiety levels. What else are we doing to kind of deal with our mental space in that way? Do we need all of this anxiety medication, right? Like there are some medicines where some people are very adamant about keeping on their medication list.
Yeah.
And so that is also from my side as a provider.
And I was going to ask you
right,
that because, I've always been taking this.
But I've taken this for years.
Yeah.
I've taken this since Eisenhower was in office. Well, listen, Eisenhower's not in office anymore. We can do something different. Just put it out there, right? And we have that kind of conversation also a lot where it's also the patient is driving some of these extra medications because they just want to have them just in case.
Yes.
Right. And so I also have to deal with that just in case. And I said, no, there doesn't need to be a just in case. But we don't need that right now. We don't need to have those pills laying around at all. And we can always come back to the table and have this conversation and maybe think about an alternative. So we walk that fine line.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what I wanted to ask you about too is, do you, the direct-to-consumer advertising. I mean, back when I was a kid, you never saw prescription drugs advertised on television. That wasn't done back then. But now it's done all the time. And it's always, the end line is always, ask your doctor about blah, 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 Do you get a lot of that? Do you get a lot of people coming in, like kind of requesting, can you put me on this for my, whatever problem I have? Or
I get from the under 65 population, right? So for those just who still have commercial insurance, aside from if you're not on Medicare, if you have a commercial insurance and there's something that has of interest to you, I tend to get it in the realm of weight loss. I get it in the realm of arthritic conditions or skin conditions, right? And there is some value to some of those medicines. When you look at the commercial, it's very scary when you listen to all the side effects.
That's what I said to Gary. I've been sitting there watching this, and I said to Gary, okay, what's the cost-benefit ratio here? Because,
Yeah, so it becomes one of those things, but I will have to say that I am for it because we're consumers of this, right? And medicine itself and how we practice medicine and healthcare is going to become more and more personalized. And so it is the onus should be a little bit more on the patient who is the consumer to ask the question, right? Like, do I qualify for this? Is this something that I can take? I saw something on television where they said, if I take this medication, it will help protect my kidneys and also help my heart and will also get my A1C down and it will also bring down my weight. Yeah, that's right. It does do that. Let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about moving the needle a little bit on how we manage your diabetes. And so for me, I look at those things as opportunities because I honestly wish more patients would ask more about what they saw on television and we could have a conversation about these medicines because for me, that shows me that you have an interest in your health and you have an interest in what you're putting in your body. And that takes us to a different level when it comes to talking about your wellness going forward. So for me, I honestly, when I really think about it, I wish more people would do it.
You okay with? Well, you know what? I think one of the things that it's done is it's created more transparency. When I was growing up, medicine was very secretive. I mean, your chart, you were not allowed to look at your chart. I mean, when you went to the doctor's office, it's like, you'd kind of be looking like, what did he say the last time I was here? Like, everything was this big, deep, dark secret. And I think now, I mean, one of the things that direct-to-consumer advertising has done is kind of put a little bit more power into the consumer's hands. And as you said, kind of bring that conversation forward to say, am I a candidate? And I think it also, I would imagine from the doc's point of view, is also like, okay, besides all of this stuff, maybe we need to talk about some lifestyle, alterations that we might think of.
It always
doing,
brings it
right?
to the fold. It always brings it to the fold for me. I mean, when we're talking about charts, right? Like, I'm looking at a note card on your desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that used to be my predecessor at Family Medicine Associates. He was able to write everything about the patient on a note card.
Okay.
Right. Fast forward to 2022.
Yeah.
I have to create sometimes a 7 to 8 page document.
Yeah.
And it is full of information. And be ready and prepared to hand it to the patient immediately.
Yeah, when they leave.
Immediately.
I take it with me. It's like,
and so that's a huge
Yeah.
transition. And for a lot of providers from an older generation, that is something they just don't get behind that in that way, and I understand that.
Yeah.
What I would also say though is that when it comes to a lot of the disease processes that affect a large portion of our community, they're about personal choices. That's what they're really about a lot of times when we talk about heart disease, when we talk about lung disease, specifically COPD, when we talk about diabetes, when we talk about morbid obesity, right? There are some key choices that we are making on our day-to-day experiences where if we would just choose, the red pill over the blue pill, right? The outcome would be a little bit different. And so you're correct. Me having that discussion when people bring what they've seen on television to me about it, I look forward to those conversations because you're right. It does allow me to highlight some other things because, once again, it's as a consumer, you're going to have to, hey, this is a very expensive medication.
Yeah.
Do I need to really take this or can I do this on my own? And I'm always going to be the advocate for you at least attempting to do it on your own because I don't necessarily agree that there is a pill that's going to solve every ill that we have, right? I think a lot of it has to do with how we feel about ourselves, how we see ourselves, and what are we doing to give ourselves that really healthy balance that we really need. And I think that's where these direct consumer kind of promotions that we see are really going to help move the needle if the provider has time to address those issues.
Yeah, and I think that's a big if. As you were talking, I was thinking that those lifestyle changes, and I've said this all along about any kind of whether somebody wants to quit smoking or quit drinking or cut down on whatever, lose weight, you really need a good support system. I mean, you need because the hardest thing for a smoker to do is quit smoking when their spouse or partner or best friend or whatever is like, no, don't worry about it. I mean, how do you do that? And I'm watching, it's interesting because I'm watching this unfold where I work at the senior center among the staff. So we have one staff member. I have no idea how much weight she has lost in the last, probably 3 years. It's been gradual. And all of a sudden I was walking behind her one day and I'm going, oh my God. I mean, she has to have lost over 80 pounds at minimum. She looks fabulous, but in the process, I'm noticing early morning, everybody's kind of coming in and now they're talking about what they made for dinner last night and they tried this new recipe and some of them are going vegan and some of them are, and it's like, okay, well and there's this whole support thing about, one of the seniors I think brought donuts or something in for us. It's just like, who brought these in? We don't want these here. Okay, we're going to do this and now I have somebody else bringing in, something that's far more healthy. So it's infectious. I'm just watching this permeate. It started with one staff member and now it's like everybody that works in the offices surrounding her are all, they're all in.
Yeah.
And they're all sharing and they're coming in the morning and they're kind of cheering each other on. And I think it's so fabulous.
I think it's amazing. I encourage that.
I just think it's fabulous. And now the one who was losing the weight has joined CrossFit and she's doing that like 3 times a week before she comes to work. And so it's like she's doing that, and then I got another one who's cycling. Our nurse is she's in a cycling enthusiast. I ran my first 10K.
Congratulations.
A couple of weeks ago, which that was on my bucket list. I was like, all right, you know what? I feel like I can do this, and I've got all this positive energy all over the place around me. I'm like, well, if they can do CrossFit and 3 times a week, she's never done anything. I can run this 10K. I'm gonna do it. So, and I got the mayor behind me. I had him help. I went to him and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this race. I know you're gonna be there. He was running the 10K too. Of course, I knew he was gonna do really well. So I said, I need you like at the last half mile when I'm just because I said, I know that's when I'm gonna really start to fade. And all I need you to do is be standing there just saying, you got this, T, you got this. And he was there, and he did it, and he actually ran in with me. He goes, you want me to run in the? And at first I said to him, no, that's okay, I got this. And either he didn't hear me or he ignored me, but I was glad because he ran right with me and then kind of branched off when I crossed the finish line. I was like able to sprint at the end. But I think that support of, other people, and, when I work with my seniors, I'm always paying attention to the person you're living with, your spouse or your kids, like who's supporting and helping us with this, whether it's medication management, can your daughter or your son or somebody help with that weekly, setting it up for you, at least at the beginning while we've got 6 different or 7 different medications. So what do you think about, I also wanted to ask you about off-label use of medications. So medications that are, why don't you explain what that means?
So correct. So there are medications that are out there that have a designated role, and they're approved for a designated role. Great example, there are certain diabetic medications that are out there right now that are for diabetes. Mm-hmm. However, some of them are being used for weight loss.
Ah, okay.
But their weight loss designation has not yet been approved.
By the FDA.
Correct. So that means but some people, some providers will use it anyway, mm-hmm. and that's called using it off label. Mm-hmm. And so I don't necessarily have a problem with it if we are 2 adults making a conscious decision and really understanding the risk behind doing this.
Okay.
Right. So there are circumstances where you have to understand that if you go down this road, you're doing something that is not approved, mm-hmm. right? And so I think the conversation with the provider has to be had. We see it all the time with cancer drugs. A lot of people have to sign waivers and a variety of different things, mm-hmm. Because it's not necessarily approved yet, or they're
for that use. I want to make that really clear, Dr. Lovelace. Yeah. So the medication is approved, but it's not approved. So it's not like it's an illegal substance, or anything, but it's not approved for that use.
Correct. They don't have enough evidence yet, or they haven't gone before the FDA to kind of prove, with their trials and with their studies that this can be used, but they know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what happens is the pharmaceutical representatives will sometimes come to the providers, and they will say, hey, listen, we've got this thing coming, and we're seeing evidence in our studies that mm-hmm. it's also helpful for blank.
Yes.
And so for a provider who is working with a patient who has struggled to meet their goals on whatever it may be, that provider may say, well, I've seen a lot of reports that are positive about using medication X mm-hmm. for blank. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's mm-hmm. where you and the provider have to have that conversation about potentially using this medication off-label. Now, what that also means is that it may not be covered by your insurance or your prescription
for that
plan
use,
for that use. And so you have to be very, very clear or understand that if you go down this road with this prescription, that it may not be covered and you might have to pay out of pocket for that. And for some people, that's not a big deal. Mm-hmm. But for others, that could be a huge expense.
Yeah, that could be a game changer. You know what? Hey, I'm sold on this, but you know what? I can't afford it.
Yeah, I'll wait until it gets approved, right? Yeah. I will be here next year and we can have that discussion again. And so those are the issues that we tend to deal with. And so but at the same time, I think that if we are in the right space, and the provider has a great relationship with the pharmaceutical company or just a good understanding with where where the needle is going, you know, this is also an indication that you could be working with a provider who's on the cutting edge, right? And who is thinking about what's coming down the road in regards to how we treat certain disease processes. And so it's kind of you being at the front of the line to a certain extent if you have that opportunity. So but it definitely requires a little bit more conversation, a little bit more research, and a very deep understanding about what your risks are and what it's going to cost you.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like what you keep coming back to, even if we're not using this word exactly, although you have a couple times, but you are a patient, but you're also a consumer. You know, you're a consumer of, you know, sort of your medical expertise and so forth. And it's kind of like it's important to ask those questions and to have those discussions. And I know, you know, sometimes, and you mentioned before, it's like time is hard. Time with your provider is hard. But I mean, can some of those discussions also be happening with, you know, PAs or, you know, physician assistants, nurse practitioners? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I encourage all of it, right? Like I encourage all of it. I encourage, the goal a lot of times in primary care these days, and what we're going to continue to see, you know, so for 2022 is almost done. Right?
I know,
right?
Right?
We are actively planning for 2023, and primarily the focus for 2023 for us is to dedicate 30 minutes, right? At least 30 minutes, well, not at least 30 minutes.
30 minutes, yeah.
30 minutes for this process. 30 minutes to have those conversations about your medications. 30 minutes to have the conversation about your overall wellness, right? And not really focus on, I'm not focusing on the blood work. I'm not going to focus, I really want to focus on what's going on socially, what's going on mentally, and what's going on with these medications, and what can we do to make it better for you, right? And so whether it's your nurse practitioner, your physician assistants, your clinical pharmacist, right? There's so many other. It takes a team, right? It takes a team,
a lot of practitioners.
But it takes that kind of time. But it also takes the expectation and understanding as to what you want to accomplish in that visit, and it needs to be very, very. Very exact and focused as to what you want to do. And so I encourage it 100%. And so that should be the plan when we talk about what's called an annual wellness visit, right? That should be the primary focus going forward. And so, yes, please talk to any one of those type of providers, because they will at least guide us in at least reconciling it. And then if we need to do some follow-ups, we do that as well.
Yeah. I just want to wrap this up by saying I think the other thing that we haven't really talked about, but I think is important, is just to remember that when you are talking to your medical provider, it's not just your prescription medications. It's also any over-the-counter meds that you're taking, supplements that you're taking, vitamins that you're taking, because, you know, it's like you may be on 7 or 8 medications. Oh, and by the way, I take I take a couple Advil every afternoon. I get, you know, chronic headache, or, you know, whatever. I'm taking Tylenol, or I'm taking, you know, decongestant, or whatever it is. And a lot of people feel like, well, that doesn't count because I can buy that. I don't need a prescription. But it does count when, you know, it's still a chemical going into your body that may or may not react with some of the prescription drugs. And if the doctor doesn't know that you're taking this other stuff every day, you know what I mean? It's one thing if it's once in a while, but
yeah, there's some key things that make it so important. You know, a classic example, I've had patients who, you know, I'm bruising so much. Why am I bruising? And I look and say, oh, well, wait a minute, what vitamins are you taking? Right? And you take a look and you see what they've got in their vitamin section, and you're like, oh, by the way, when you take this with that, it's going to make you bruise a little bit more, right? But if I don't ask those questions, that could be an issue. Also, you know, in my mind, supplements are medications, right? Like, I don't see a difference. The only difference in my mind is one is kind of approved, the other one is not necessarily approved, and it's got that, you know, that waiver on the back of it. But for me, they're all the same. They're still pills to me. And so I do want to know that. And I think the provider should ask about that, because once again, if you've got 5 or 6 or 7 supplements that you're taking in addition to 3 or 4 prescribed medications, I mean, that's a lot of pills. And of course, the likelihood, like we talked about before, of being compliant with some of the key prescriptions are going to go down, just because you got to be tired of taking all those pills. Yeah. Some people like it, but for me, it's just not for me.
Yeah. Dr. Akenyele Lovelace, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been great. I am looking forward to the Noble Ball, so I will see you there beginning of November.
Absolutely.
And next month we'll come up with whatever our topic of the month is going to be.
Can't wait.
All right, take care. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. We'll be back.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Join us every Thursday morning
from 6 until at least 7:30.
Check out the Bobby G and Company Show
right here on WSKB 89.5
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:06. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, producer Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So I understand from listening to Bob's show yesterday that you and Christy, did you make a trip up? Where did you go, to New Hampshire this weekend? Is that where we had this amazing...
Raymond, New Hampshire. A place called the Tuckaway.
And so how did you decide on, how did you guys come up with this?
Oh, it was, we wanted to do a foliage run.
Yes.
And
which you're really famous at that. You do not miss a fall. I think for
all
the years that we've come, you've always managed to get a ride in.
Somewhere, yes.
Somewhere north.
So we a place on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives that I saw. But it's also been featured on Phantom Gourmet.
Okay.
It's won the Best of New Hampshire for the past decade.
Wow.
And it's just, there was a wait of an hour, but who cares?
Yeah, so I was going to say. And so how long did it take you to get there?
About 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes.
All right, nice.
But it was a nice ride up.
Yeah.
And then we kind of went 202 to 2 and then up into Route 393 area.
Yep.
And then we came back across on 89, 112, kind of working our way to Brattleboro. We were going to stop at the brewery in Brattleboro right on the river. Mm-hmm. But we just got tired.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but
then it was okay.
Long day,
a
lot of driving, but we got she took a ton of pictures that I posted.
And how was the foliage as you were heading north?
It was great.
Was it good? Yeah.
It was great.
Are we in peak?
Monday, I came in here, did Buster's show on my day off, and then I was going to do some more work, and I was like, no, you know what? No. So I mounted a GoPro to the roof of my car and went up on Route 2 going the other way.
Okay.
Going west.
Yeah, heading west.
Out to Williamstown.
Yeah.
And did that run.
Okay.
And I have some cool 360 footage I got to edit together.
Nice. Very
of the foliage out that way, including the hairpin turn and stuff like that.
Perfect.
People were looking at my car going, what the hell is that on his car? The GoPro on the top of my car with a magnetic mount that would be good to 100 miles an hour. I was doing 60. And it wasn't
I was going to say I'd be a nervous wreck about that.
Wasn't even flinching, but this is the sandwich that I have. Speaking of indulgence.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness.
That's called the Whole Tucking Burger.
I love it.
It is a burger, a chicken patty, caramelized onions, bacon, and sauce, and a lettuce.
Okay, so I could probably show me that picture again. So that was,
There's the burger, chicken patty.
Okay. I could probably eat 4 bites of that would be like a 9-course meal for me, and then I'd have to, then I'd be like, okay, that would probably last me for 4 or 5 days.
I didn't eat dinner.
So yeah, I can
didn't eat dinner for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
I had to take a picture of it when I cut it in half. I was like,
amazing.
And it was $20.
Yeah, I know. I was listening to the prices and so forth.
Wow.
Well, speaking of food, today is October 12th is National Farmers Day. So not only bring your teddy bear to school or work day, National Emergency Nurses Day, but we got National Farmers Day. So this offers much deserved praise to the hardworking farmers across the nation. In the midst of harvest season, the day pays tribute to the men, women, and families who put food in the grocery stores and on our tables every day. From very early in American culture, farmers set an example with their endless hard work. Not only do they provide a nation with the food we eat, but they also contribute to our economy in numerous ways. Before seeds even find their way into the ground, farmers supply a stream of jobs. From manufacturing, marketing, and tourism, farmers keep small and large communities going strong. Additional products and areas that rely on agriculture include leather, apparel, restaurants, of course, beverages, textiles, trucking, railroad, forestry, pharmaceuticals, since we were just talking about that, and transportation. So October seems fitting for celebrating this national day as it is near the end of the harvest. Many farmers will be able to take a rest from their hard labor to join the celebration of this holiday. So happy National Farmers Day. And
it's amazing to me how many people in big cities have no idea where their groceries come from.
oh yeah, no, they think that they're grown like in the store. You know.
It is amazing to me.
So, speaking of farmers, I do have to mention, I believe this week is the last of the farmers market. I'm pretty sure. Oh, no, I stand corrected. Because what's today, Pete? Today is the 12th. Nope,
12th,
next
yeah.
week. No, there's one more week. So, okay, but this week, tomorrow at the farmers market, we have the entertainment is Linda O'Neill and Tom Boydo. And they are doing a variety of folk, Celtic, country, and oldies, guitar, banjo, and vocals. So they kind of do it all. They're playing first from 12 to 2:30, and then from 2:30 to 5, the Rustlers. And they play classic and obscure Americana music, folk, bluegrass, and originals. So that's your entertainment at tomorrow's Farmers Market. Farmers Market is at the the grounds of the Church of the Atonement right on Court Street. You can't miss it. If you go by there on a Thursday afternoon, you'll see white tents everywhere. And the recipe of the week, Pete, that we were so I get the newsletter, and thank you to everyone at the farmers market for getting me the newsletter a day earlier than they used to, because I used to get it on Wednesday after I did this show. And I said to them, if you can get it to me Tuesday night, then I can, kind of highlight whatever you want highlighted. So anyway, they have been doing that, which is fabulous. And every week they have a recipe of the week. And this week, the recipe is beef stew in a pumpkin. I don't know if you can see this, but it's just fabulous. It's a whole thing of beef stew, and instead of being in a pot, it's in a carved out pumpkin. And so Julie Barnes was, who's director of Veteran Services, was at the, she happened to be right at the greeter's desk when I pulled this off of, when I printed this out. And I said, Julie, this looks fabulous to me. So essentially what you do is you make the beef stew, and then you take a carved out pumpkin, you wash it, and you take the circle out of the top, and you remove all the stuff. And then you put the stew into the pumpkin, you replace the top, you brush the outside with oil, and you bake it for 2 hours in a slow oven at 325, or just until the pumpkin is tender, but you don't over bake it. You don't want it mushy. And then you serve the stew from the pumpkin, scooping out a little pumpkin with each serving.
I was going to say, wouldn't the stew cook the pumpkin, but you're cooking the pumpkin anyway. So
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly, because the stew is actually already cooked. So when you put it in the pumpkin, so now you're kind of cooking the whole thing. I love pumpkin. Like, this is my favorite season only for food-wise, because pumpkin cereal, pumpkin tea, pumpkin everything. So I put a copy of this into my principal clerk's box because she loves to cook. She's on vacation this week, but I'm really hoping that she'll attempt this and then bring it in as a sample, because I thought this would be so good. But if you're interested in this recipe, it is on the Farmers Market website, the Westfield Farmers Market website. So there you go. All right, let's take a little break because I'm tired of talking. I feel like I know I blew through my 6:45 break with Dr. Lovelace, but I felt like the topic was really important, and I didn't want to break his flow over there. It is 7:14. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM, radio for the Westfield masses, and WCPC cable channel 15. So in honor of National Farmers Day, we're going to listen to Craig Morgan. I love this, playing International Harvester, singing International Harvester. We'll be back.
I'm the son of a third-generation farmer. I've been married 10 years to the farmer's daughter. I'm a God-fearing, hard-working combine driver, hogging up the road on my plower, chugga-lugga-lugging 5 miles an hour on my International Harvester. 3 miles of cars playing on their horns, falling on deaf ears of corn, lined up behind me like a big parade of late to work, road rage jerks, shouting obscene words, flipping me the bird. Well, you may be on a state paved road, but that blacktop runs through my payload. Excuse me for trying to do my job, but this year ain't been no bumper crowd. If you don't like the way I'm driving, get back on the interstate. Otherwise, sit tight and be nice and quit your honking at me that way. Cause I'm the son of a third-generation farmer. I've been married 10 years to the farmer's daughter. I got 2 boys in the county 4-H. I'm a lifetime sponsor of the FFA. Hey, that's what I make. I make a lot of hay for a little pay. But I'm proud to say I'm a God-fearing, hard-working combine driver, hogging up the road on my flower, chugging, lugging 5 miles an hour on my international harvester. Well, I know you got your own deadlines, but cussing at me won't save you no time, hoss. This big wheel wide load ain't going any faster, so just smile and wave and tip your hat to the man up on the tractor. Cause I'm the son of a third-generation farmer. I've been married 10 years to the farmer's daughter. I got 2 boys in the county 4-H. I'm a lifetime sponsor of the FFA. Hey, that's what I make. I make a lot of hay for a little pay. But I'm proud to say I'm a God-fearing, hard-working combine driver, hogging up the road on my flower, chugging, lugging 5 miles an hour on my international harvester. Hard-working combine driver, hogging up the road on my flower, chugging, lugging 5 miles an hour on my international harvester.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:19. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, do we have, you know what, we have to switch and do what we normally talk about, like between 6 and 6:15. So, any special meetings that we need to know about? Any city council or what's happening?
I kind of feel out of the loop now that
Okay.
I'm almost to the point where I'm going to break down the Zoom setup at home and kind of bring all that stuff back.
Okay.
As I really don't need it anymore.
So you're not filming the meeting, somebody else is doing
that? No, I have the
that?
part-timers. I have a couple part-timers that
Okay.
are working here and there.
Great. Okay.
Justin Mihelishin, Kenny, and Emily, who used to be here in school.
Okay. Awesome.
It's based upon their availability, they work when they can. So
okay.
But yeah.
So they're covering those. So what meetings now? I mean, obviously we know the city council meeting is
City
aired
Council,
on Channel 15. What other meetings?
Planning
Pete?
board and school committee are the big
Those
three.
are the three.
Because they meet in chambers and we already have equipment in chambers.
Okay.
Conservation wants to record their meetings apparently.
Okay.
But they're going to have to do that on their own, and I have equipment for them now to do that. So.
Okay. All right. Good.
We'll see.
Okay. We will see.
If
All
any
right.
other boards and commissions want to record, I have equipment where I can loan you a tripod,
Yep.
a 1-button record setup, and then I can harvest it, in the day or so later, and
Yep. So we just
and
need
post
to,
it.
just learn how to.
But you're going to be
flip the
responsible to record
switch.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. All right. A few famous birthdays on October 12th. It is the birthday of Bodie Miller, alpine ski racer, born on this day in 1977 in Easton, New Hampshire. He's a local New Englander. He's 45 years old today. Bodie Miller is an Olympic and World Championship gold medalist, a 2-time overall World Cup champion in 2005 and 2008, and the most successful male American alpine ski racer of all time. He's the only skier with 5 or more victories in each discipline. So that includes giant slalom, combined, Super G, and downhill. Bodie Miller won 6 medals in the Winter Olympics, the most of any U.S. skier. 2 silvers in the giant slalom and combined in Salt Lake City. That was back in 2002. A gold, that was the super combined. A silver, the Super G. And a bronze downhill in Vancouver in 2010, and a bronze Super G in Sochi in 2014. I don't think I remembered that he was in 3 different Olympics. Bodie Miller is one of 5 skiers who have won Olympic medals in 4 different disciplines. He ended his career with 6 discipline World Cup titles and also won 4 World Championship titles in 4 different disciplines. That included giant slalom, combined, Super G, and downhill, and 1 silver medal in Super G. He retired from ski racing in 2017. So happy 45th birthday to alpine ski racer Bodie Miller. It is also the birthday of the late Melvin Franklin. He was an R&B bass vocalist, born on this day in 1942 in Montgomery, Alabama, passed away in 1995 at the age of 52. Melvin Franklin was best known for his role as a founding member of the Motown singing group The Temptations from 1960 to 1994. In 1958, a classmate of Franklin's at Detroit's Northwestern High School, Otis Williams, invited Melvin Franklin to join his singing group. At the time, it was called Otis Williams and the Siberians. I don't know where that name came from. Didn't get the history of that. Franklin joined the group as its bass singer and remained with Williams, and the other members were Eldridge Bryant and Paul Williams and Eddie Kendricks when they formed the Elgins in late 1960. In March of 1961, the Elgins signed with Motown Records under a new name, The Temptations. Franklin had a fondness for the color blue, so he was nicknamed Blue by his fellow singers. Otis and Melvin Franklin were the only founding Temptations who never left the group. They were with the group for the entire time. One of the most famous bass singers in music over his long career, Franklin's deep vocals became one of the group's signature trademarks. Melvin Franklin sang a handful of featured leads with the group as well, including the songs I Truly, Truly Believe, Silent Night, The Prophet, and his signature live performance number, Old Man River. Franklin was usually called upon to deliver ad-libs, harmony vocals, and during the psychedelic soul era, notable sections of the main verses. His line from the Temptations' 1970 hit Ball of Confusion, and the line was, "And the band played on," became Franklin's trademark. So, of course, we're going to have to listen to that song later on in the show so you can hear Melvin singing that famous line, "And the band played on." And as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. So, good guy. And finally, it is the birthday of the late Jean Nidetch. She was born on this day in 1923 in Brooklyn, New York. She died April 29, 2015, at the ripe old age of 91. She lived into her 90s. Jean Nidetch was a successful businesswoman who co-founded Weight Watchers International. In her autobiography, Nidetch described herself early in her marriage as an overweight woman. She was 214 pounds at the time, married to an overweight husband, surrounded by overweight friends. Nidetch had been overweight most of her childhood and adult life. She had tried various diets, doctors, and medications to lose weight, but none were successful over the long run. In 1961, Nidetch went to the New York City Department of Health Obesity Clinic. There, she was given a strict diet to follow. While she had some success with the diet, she found herself cheating. And she didn't feel comfortable discussing her misbehaviors with the woman who ran the clinic because that woman had never been overweight and really couldn't understand why somebody on a diet would cheat. So instead, Jean Nidich decided to invite 6 of her friends who were overweight to her house to share the new diet and her secrets. The original group of 6 agreed to try the diet together and meet weekly to talk about their successes and their struggles. From the first meeting, Nidich suggested that the other women consult their doctors before starting the diet. This rule stayed with Jean Nidich throughout the development of Weight Watchers. Since she was not a trained dietitian, Nidich did not want to be responsible for other people's health decisions. So from the beginning, she saw her role as an emotional leader rather than a medical expert. She never claimed to be one. Nidich was a remarkable motivator, an articulate public speaker, and a real-life example for the other participants. Her popularity soared because of this. By word of mouth, she built a large clientele. Soon she was organizing bi-weekly meetings for hundreds of women, as well as making personal visits to people who could not come to her meetings. While the actual diet remained unchanged, Jean Nidich improved upon the organization of the Weight Watchers program over time. For example, she developed a reward system whereby program participants would earn a gold pin for losing 10 pounds and then add a diamond chip for each 10 pounds after that. To help cover the costs, members started to pay 25 cents a week to attend meetings. So that was kind of how Weight Watchers was born, and then, sort of developed over time. And now I think they've done away with, although a lot of people still refer to it as Weight Watchers, but I think they've just gone to WW is the acronym now. I'm not really sure.
Wasn't it going out of business and like Oprah bought it or something?
I believe so. I think it was, because I know Oprah's had a lot to do with it. And
I think she rebranded it as WW.
I agree with you, Pete. I think that's exactly what happened. But anyway, it was a different way of looking at, quote, dieting, if you will. And again, it was kind of coming full circle to what Akenyele, Dr. Lovelace and I were talking about earlier. And that is it's important to have that support system. And I think that's what she was saying. It's like, I can't do this on my own. And this, skinny young thing who's running this obesity clinic has no idea why I'm cheating or why I have the urge to cheat.
She said, I wonder why it works. Humans are social creatures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Duh.
Yeah, duh. Right, exactly. But, back in the day.
Everything is actually easier with support.
Yeah, there's no doubt about
people
it.
who live in isolation are those people that are abused and things like that.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
Completely get it.
Yeah, so do I. We understand how we get there. But, every study that's been done, the, longitudinal study, the Harvard study of longitudinal and aging and everything else, that common factor for higher quality functioning of life has to do with social connectedness. We are social creatures, and just that, that support. And it doesn't mean you have to surround yourself with 100 people.
No.
But you do have to have that.
1 or 2 confidants.
Yeah, exactly. So important.
Yep.
All right, it is 7:29. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So I wanted to do a song to honor the birthday of Bodie Miller, who was an alpine ski racer. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to find a song about skiing? Well, I actually found this song that is so cool. It's and I love John Denver. It's a John Denver song. It's called Dancing with the Mountains. And if you Google this and you go onto the video, the entire song, he's skiing down a mountain while he's singing this song. It's a beautiful, beautiful video. It's just a short song. But anyway, this is in honor of the birthday of Bodie Miller, who's 45 years old today. It's called Dancing with the Mountains by John Denver. We'll be back.
Everybody got the dancing fever. Everybody
WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:34. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
And it is National Bring Your Teddy Bear to School Work Day. So we have Teddy with us this morning as well, who's been just, listening intently.
Yeah, hanging out.
We're hanging out. So I want to remind everyone today is brown bag food distribution at the Senior Center. So that happens between 9 and 10 a.m. We ask that everyone who's getting a brown bag, who's on the list, make sure that you're on the list. There is an application process and so forth, that you are respectful of that 9 to 10 o'clock time frame, because by 10 o'clock, I'm absolutely starving, because by then I haven't really eaten breakfast and have been up since 4. So, 10:01, we are done and we are back in the building. So please make sure that you are respectful of that time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some things going on at the Senior Center. First of all, we have our 7-year Itch Senior Center anniversary party, and I do need to announce that the tickets for that are sold out. We had someone who called in yesterday and had requested tickets, and we
did say it was going to go fast?
Well, and it sold out in an hour. And that was pretty much what we had. It was maybe a little faster than Mary Lou and I expected, but yeah, 1 hour. So, but anyway, not to worry. We have some other special things planned. We've got holidays coming up, so please don't worry. There will be other opportunities. Our Right from the Heart, WRITE, Right from the Heart Writing Group, meets on Monday afternoon. So if you're interested in joining that group, it's like our Novel Ideas book group. They're just like fabulous people in these two groups. And by the way, the Novel Ideas book group is meeting this Friday. So if you're interested in any of those groups or programs or activities, give us a call at the Senior Center. We're happy to fill you in. There's information on the writing group right on the front page of the October newsletter. So make sure that if you haven't picked up a copy of that you do. It was funny, Pete. I was in my office over the weekend. I kept hearing these cars coming up, much like when the newsletter first comes out and people, over the weekend are coming to get their copies because we have a bin outside of the front door and you can get them there. So I kept thinking to myself, wow, I could hear doors slamming and then the car would drive away. What it was?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Flag drop.
Yes, it's the flag drop. So you're right.
I think the Marine Corps League is the only place that used to do that, and I don't know if they still do that.
I think that they are, but it's a little bit more challenging because it's right on, it's right on the main street over there. So heading up toward the north end. So yes, people have been dropping flags. In fact, Julie was in Maine for the weekend, and I forgot to tell her yesterday. She came back, and I wanted to say to her, I think we're going to have to empty the drop box because people were coming all weekend, dropping their flags, and some people had like bags, and it's like they've been hanging on to 2 or 3 flags for the last few years and not knowing what to do with them. So if you're not familiar, we now have a flag drop, and that's through Veteran Services. And one of Westfield's veterans actually built the box, and then I think Julie and her husband Brian painted it. It's beautiful. So it's right on the front porch of the Senior Center. You can drop your United States flags there if they're worn and they need to be retired. There is a respectful way of disposing of flags.
I saw the pictures of it. It looks really cool.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is absolutely beautiful. I'm so when Julie talked to me about the idea, she said, would you mind? She said, I really want to be able to put it right on the front porch at the Senior Center. And my first question was, I said, that's fine as long as it's aesthetically, pleasing to the eye. I don't want to put, and she said, Tina, it's just going to be, pretty amazing. So, so there it is. So we have the flag drop there. So the other thing that's going on right now, big deal at the Senior Center, is we are all gearing up for Medicare Part D open enrollment. So the open enrollment program begins on October 15th, so it's very quickly approaching, and it runs through December 7th. This is an opportunity for seniors to change their Medicare prescription drug plan, which is Part D, if they choose to do so. I will tell you right now, we have a new senior benefits coordinator with us who has not done Medicare open enrollment before. She's trained for it. Her name is Lynn Hills. She replaced Karen Noblet. Of course, we still have people, Pete, who are calling us who come once a year for Medicare open enrollment. Do not know that Karen retired. It's like, okay, I'm calling for my annual. I want to make an appointment with Karen. It's like, well, guess what? Karen doesn't work here. What? So Lynn is right now booked up because what she's doing, unlike Karen, Lynn is not sure how many people she's going to be able to accommodate because this is her first time doing it. So she's scheduled over 100 appointments. We're going to stop her there. I'm pulling the plug on it there. So we have to see how this works out for her, how many she can do. She's thinking that by, mid to late November, she'll be able to open up some more appointments. But we won't know that until she starts. Some people, it's going to be fairly easy. They're on one or two medications. It'll be kind of a quick thing. You can either stay on your plan or, switch off. For other people, it's going to be more involved. So right now, what we are doing is we are giving out the regional Shine number so people can call the regional office. Lorraine York Egberg handles that, and Lorraine is featured on our October edition of Westfield Council on Aging Presents series with Harry Rock. So that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon at 2:45. So we have plenty of opportunities for people to learn so that they can really do this on their own. So Lorraine was here. I would certainly suggest that you tune into that. If you look at our October newsletter, we have several articles on the Medicare open enrollment process. We have videos that are available through the city website. If you go into departments, under departments, just click on Council on Aging. There are Medicare videos on there to explain things. The National Medicare hotline number is in the newsletter. And also next month, we're going to have Trina Moskal. Trina is not a Shine counselor. She actually does it independently. She'll help people independently. And she's going to be, I think she'll be stationed over in Walmart, assisting folks over there. So we're also kind of giving that information on Trina. So people have different options. For a lot of people, you'll end up just staying on the plan that you're currently in. If nothing has changed, your medications are the same. If your insurance is going to continue to cover those meds, you may just be best staying where you are. But what's really important is for you to look at your the annual notice of change, which was sent out by your insurance company in September. And that will tell you the insurance that you're currently having, what they're covering and what they're not covering. So that's your opportunity to say, the medication that I've been taking and they've been covering, they're no longer covering, or, still being covered. So that's kind of your starting point. And everybody who has Part D Medicare insurance should have gotten one of those from their insurance company in September. The insurance companies have until September 30th to get that out to folks. So we've been talking about that now for a couple of months on this show. I kept saying, be on the lookout for it. When you get it, do not throw it out. Do not recycle it. It's really important. That's your starting point. So all of that Medicare information is in our newsletter. And again, on Channel 15, Tuesdays and Thursdays during the month of October at 2:45, Lorraine York Edberg, and she is the regional Shine director. So Lorraine's been doing this for longer than I've been at the Senior Center. So I've been here 17 years. So she's been there longer than that doing her job with Shine. All right, let's take a break. It is 7:43. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. I promised that we were going to listen to The Temptations and Melvin Franklin singing Ball of Confusion. So listen for that line. And the band played on. We'll be back.
2,
their skin. Run, 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 but you sure can't hide. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Vote for me and I'll set you free. Rap on, brother, rap on. Well, the only person talking about love and brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher. Segregation, determination, demonstration, integration, aggravation, humiliation, obligation to our nation. That's what the world is today. Hey. The sale of pills are at an all-time high. Young folks walking around with their heads in the sky. Cities aflame in the summertime. The beat goes on. Revolution, revolution, gun control the sound of soul. Shooting rockets to the moon, kids growing up too soon. Politicians say more taxes will solve everything. And the band played on. So, round and around we go. Where the world's headed, nobody knows. Can't you hear me talking to you? That's the ball of the future. Oh, yeah. That's what the world is today. Yeah. Fear in the air, tension everywhere. Unemployment rising fast, the Beatles' new records of gas. And the only safe place to live is on an Indian reservation. And the band played on. Of destruction, tax deductions. City inspectors, bill collectors, cyclones in the man, population out of hand. Suicide, too many bills, hippies moving to the hill. People all over the world are shouting in the war. And the band played on.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at Rockies.com.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:48. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM. Excuse me, radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning again, Pete.
Good morning.
So, Pete, we really can't not talk about Pumpkin Fest because it's
I don't know, Bob
up.
does plenty of it.
Well, and I have to tell you, it was interesting. So one of my fun things that I did this weekend, so in between trying to be productive, but I also was trying to have a little fun time.
Yes.
So I got a text message about a week ago from my good friend and former host on this show not of this show, but on WSKB, from Patrick Berry. And he said, we have not gone out to breakfast in forever, so let's do it. And I said, oh my God, that sounds great. I said, it's a long weekend. I said, we can definitely do this. So we got together on Sunday morning and we had breakfast. I said, well, where do you want to meet? And he said, well, how about, I think it's called Tandem Bagel. It's in West Springfield, but I guess there's like one in East Hampton. There are 4 of them in the area. Okay. I had never heard of it either. And I told him that. I said, where is it in West Springfield? And it's, where it is? It's like 3 doors down from the Majestic Theater. It's right on Elm Street.
It's right there on Elm Street.
And Patrick said, I figured you would know all about it because it's right near the Majestic. And I know that you belong to the Majestic. And I said, well, I never come
Different times of day.
Yeah, and I never go by there. Like I come down Route 20, park in the parking lot, and I never go past the Majestic. And when I go to the post office, I always go to Westfield now. It's just way more convenient. So anyway, it is this little coffee cafe kind of, it was awesome. The prices are great. The selection was great. Of course, I had a pumpkin bagel because, it's that time of year. It was delicious. But anyway, so then the next day, which was Monday.
It was amazing. Everybody's been catching up with Patrick. There was one day, he was coming home from a golf tournament or something. I talked for like a half an hour.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so great to catch up. Because for those who don't know, so when Patrick and I
think he misses his old buddies.
He does. He absolutely misses his old buddies. And I had to fill him in on everything going on, because when he was running the paper, it was like he knew everything. He's
disconnected, yeah.
He does. He feels a little disconnected. But he definitely has his fair share of Westfield guests on Mass Appeal. So there I was Monday morning, and I was switching around getting out some of my winter clothes. And I said, oh, you know what? It's a weekday. I'll turn on Mass Appeal. I'll have that kind of going in the background.
Sure.
And who was on Mass Appeal? Bob Plass talking about Pumpkin Fest. And I cracked up. Bob did a great job. I thought he really got the message across. And of course, Patrick does a great job. So Pumpkin.
You just crank Bob up and let him go.
Well, and you know what? Patrick is a good host and he knows when to do that. When you have to prompt your guest and when you can just let him take it away.
Patrick did tell me he misses the long format interviews, though.
He absolutely, we had that exact same discussion.
Yeah, he misses that.
He does. He said that was the beauty of WSKB.
Yep.
He said, and he had 2 hours to he would interview one guest over a 2-hour period. And he said it was a luxury because he told me, he said he interviewed Eliana Lakritz's father, who's a physician, specializing in addictions and so forth. And he said, I had him on. And he said for like 6 minutes, he said, I could have talked to him for 4 hours. I mean, it's the opioid, I mean, it's like, my God, you could talk about this forever.
I don't understand why they don't let Patrick do a podcast with like one guest a week or something.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
Maybe
I
I'll
think
have to
he'd be really good.
suggest that to management.
Yes, good idea. So anyway, let's get back to Pumpkin Fest. So on behalf of Bob Plass, so I do want to remind folks that Pumpkin Fest is this Saturday. Do we have a weather update at all, Pete? I have no idea. I have not watched the local weather.
You talk for a second. I'll look it up in the old app.
Okay, I will talk. Pete will look. So the event is I believe it's from 11 to 5 behind Amelia Park. So in the field behind the Boys and Girls Club behind Amelia Park. But in addition to everything going on there will be children's games provided by the Greater Westfield YMCA, Amelia Park, the Children's Museum, the Greater Westfield Boys and Girls Club, and others. There will be a trunk or treat, as well as the return of the Big Rig Rally, where families can check out trucks and service vehicles and meet the people who drive them. The vendor marketplace will showcase more than 40 artisans and crafters. And let's see what else. And there's a haunted. Let's see, partnering with Amelia Park Ice Arena, the skate rink, to present a haunted rink from 3 to 7 p.m. and a costumed skate from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
With prizes.
So that's all happening down around Amelia Park, the Boys and Girls Club, all back in that area. It really, I have out-of-state guests coming, and I'm a little disappointed because I kind of would really like to go, but I know
Take them over there.
There are going to be plenty of people.
As of right now, high 60s and clear skies.
That would be beautiful.
Less than 10% chance of rain.
I mean, that is perfect for this event.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. So we absolutely recommend that you hit the Pumpkin Fest this year. And then the other thing that they're putting together now too, Bob, is the haunted tour of homes, home tour. What?
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's like if you've decorated your house for Halloween.
Correct. Yeah, they did. I mean, they do it at Christmas too.
Yep,
same type of thing.
Yep, and it's a drive-through, so you can get on their list.
Right, they give you a list of the houses that are decorated, and you drive by them.
And it's just so fun. So you go at night, take the kids, kind of drive through, and that I think will be going from this weekend and through Halloween, so through the end of the month. So that'll be all of the harvest, fall, autumn, Halloween-y stuff. And, right after Halloween, Pete, then it's like gear up for Thanksgiving and Christmas, which we are.
Christmas stuff is already out.
We are doing that at the Senior Center. We're already gearing up. I, met with the staff. We're planning all of the holiday stuff because, that's what has to happen. It has to get planned pretty far in advance if you want to get the good entertainment and, all that other good stuff. So we've got lots of surprises lined up. So we're pretty pumped about that. All right. So that's Pumpkin Fest this Saturday. Be there or be square. Wear your costumes. Bring the kids. This is a family-oriented event. So definitely for the kids, the family, multi-generational, all that good stuff. Okay, last announcement for me with the Senior Center is a week from today. We have sign-ups for our late fall fitness classes. So that will be our November, December fitness classes. Sign-ups are for our various chair yoga classes. We have progressive chair yoga, progressive chair to floor yoga, gentle chair yoga, and in and out of chair yoga. So we have all those 3 classes. And then, of course, Carol Palmer's 2 sections of Totally Fun Fitness, which is a super popular class. So registration will begin next Wednesday. It's curbside, and it goes from 8:45 to 9:15, so it's just a half hour. You register. All the information is in the October newsletter. In addition, the schedule for those late fall fitness classes will be out later today. It's done. I just have to photocopy it, but we have a lot going on today. But hopefully that will be out later today. All I want to say is this is when registration begins. So if you don't make it through to this, or you decide you don't want to do the drive-through registration, that's fine. Nobody's making you do that. You can certainly register after this at the Senior Center when you're coming to class. Of course, you take the chance that a class may be full, but depending on the class that you want to take, I would say for Carol Palmer's Totally Fun, we seem to have quite a bit of room. We've increased the capacities on both of those classes, so that should be no problem if you prefer to register the next day.
We have to bring over a camera to try to test recording those too.
Yeah, and Carol's all game for filming hers, with her class. So she said she's not going to do it during the class because some people won't want to be filmed, but she'll get some people, and we'll do a filming. We've talked about it. All right, I'm going to bug out a little early. We have the Chamber Chatters, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Eric's here.
And
I don't know whose guest is. I just briefly met her.
But he does have a guest lined up. So that is coming up at 8 o'clock. I have a brown bag food distribution program this morning, so we're going to finish a couple minutes early. Maybe you can play my teddy bear song, Pete, because we didn't get a chance to play that one. So maybe my Elvis song.
Okay.
If we can go out with that one, that would be great. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses and WCPC cable channel 15. Next week, Jen Jafune will be back. We'll be doing Diabetes Dialogue. And then the week after, we've got Joe Rouse as Director of Public Health. So we have a full slate for the rest of the month. In the meantime, enjoy your week and go to Pumpkin Fest.
Baby, let me be your loving teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck and lead me anywhere. Let me be, let him be your teddy bear. I don't want to be a tiger, 'cause tigers play too rough. I don't wanna be a lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you love enough. I just wanna be your teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck and leave me anywhere. Oh, let me be. Oh, let him be. Your teddy bear. Baby, let me be around you every night. Run your fingers through my hair and cuddle me real tight. Oh, let me be. Oh, let him be. Your teddy bear. I don't wanna be a tiger, 'cause tigers play too rough. I don't wanna be a lion, 'cause lions ain't the kind you love enough. Just wanna be your teddy bear. Put a chain around my neck and leave me anywhere. Oh, let me be. Oh, let it be. Oh, teddy bear. Oh, let me be. Oh, let it be your teddy bear.